$35,000 for a dirt lot with no security.
Good evening. It's Planning Commission meeting for the City of Lockport, July 12th. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kathy, would you call roll call, please?
You got it. Wheeler.
Here.
Garland.
Here.
Maloney.
Here.
Oxley.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Likens. Here. Deskin.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 14th meeting? Motion by Deskin. Second by Likens. Any questions, comments, changes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Tonight we have a public hearing to amend the planned unit development of Lockport Square on Farrell Road. It's lot 6, I believe, Kimberly?
Chairman, this item is a public hearing.
Yes. We have a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Peters, second by Garland. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Kimberly, you're it.
Thank you. Case number 2022-010 takes place in Lockport Square at Farrell. The applicant, Jacob Development LLC, has submitted an application for rezoning of Lot 6 from C2 Community Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial and preliminary development plan review for a self-storage center on Lot 6 of Lockport Square at Farrell Road. The subject property is part of a planned development, and a self-storage facility is a special use within the C3 zoning district. Staff is recognizing this preliminary development plan as a major amendment to the planned development. Before you on your monitor, an aerial is displayed on the subject property. The subject property is highlighted in yellow, and the black outline represents the Lockport Square at Farrell. The proposed self-storage facility is located on Lot 6, which is a development that is located between the Jewel Osco Retail Center and the Walmart store. Lockport at Farrell was developed as a retail and office development. On the west side of the development is a Sonic restaurant and Chase Bank, which fronts Farrell Road. East of the outlots is a large 97,000 square foot inline retail center having limited visibility to Farrell Road. And furthest east, or the rear of the development, is Lot 6, the subject property, which was designated for an 18,000 square foot office building that was never constructed. The parcel fronts Edelman Road, which is an internal private road connecting 159th Street to the Walmart property. The parcel is a unique parcel, having been platted without lot frontage to Farrell Road and tucked behind the retail lots. This portion of the development is not suitable for retail development, and office trends have changed, having a low market demand. Next slide is a photo that was taken from a Google Earth photo displaying the east side of the property facing west. The subject property is Zone C2 and is impressed with a special use permit for a planned commercial development. The applicant desires to rezone only Lot 6 from C2 Community Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial for the purpose of allowing the building height of 55 feet for the 4-story building. The C2 district allows a maximum of 45 feet, and the C3 allows 55 feet. The building height could be addressed under the PUD as a deviation in C2. However, it is the preference of the applicant to have the C3 zoning district. Staff finds that the property abutting the C3 district to the west, therefore, can support the C3 request. There's little difference and allowable uses for the C2 and C3 districts. Both provide a broad range of general shopping and grouping of compatible businesses. The main difference between the two districts is that the C3 district allows a slightly higher intensity, and it was created for areas that traditionally require the use of an automobile. In this case, the hardship for the rezoning is the building height of the 4-story building of 55 feet. The next slide shows the general standards. Well, this is actually a zoning clip of our zoning map. It shows the surrounding property, the zoning. And then the next slide shows the general standards that are used to determine if a rezoning is appropriate. They're displayed, the standards are displayed on your monitor. Based on the criteria, staff finds that the rezoning will not have a negative impact on the surrounding development or to the overall community. The building height is appropriate for the location. For the special use permit for a planned development, the proposed self-storage facility is deemed a major change to the approved planned development and requires a public hearing by the Plan and Zoning Commission and approval by the City Council upon the recommendation of the Plan and Zoning Commission. All required notifications have been completed for the public hearing. Any increase in building height that is greater than 10% of any building or structure within the development is deemed a major change. Additionally, the change in use is also deemed a major change. Based on the general guidelines for planned developments, the proposed development will not injure or damage the use, value, and enjoyment of surrounding property, nor hinder the development of surrounding property in accordance with the comprehensive land use of the city. Additionally, the proposed development is desirable, and the need for the use has been demonstrated by the applicant. The modification to the zoning district is warranted by the design of the proposed building. The next slide displays the preliminary site plan. The site plan shows the proposed self-storage facility development, that it consists of a 4-story facility with a total of 117,600 square foot. The plan includes the following items. The site plan has been revised to show that the square footage includes the covered loading area and will not require a variance for the lot coverage at 30%. You can see that the facility is identified as 113,120 square feet. The building is oriented north to face the parking lot. Site access is provided via an access drive to Edelman Road. There is indirect access from internal area of the retail center to the west, and a total of 26 parking spaces have been provided, including 2 accessible spaces. Adequate parking has been provided. Sidewalks are provided for internal use and connect to Edelman Road and the retail center to the west and south. The covered loading area with 2 delivery bays, approximately 1,340 square feet, is located on the west side of the property. A preliminary landscape plan was submitted and is in substantial conformance. In this slide here, we have renderings of the proposed building. Elevations show the 4-story building has a typical building height of 49 feet with a stairwell height of 55 feet. The building is in conformance with the city's design standards, having a minimum of 70% Class 1 materials. 60% is required. Per facade, that consists of face brick, corrugated metal panels, and a storefront glazing system. Painted stucco is identified on the elevations. However, this is an EFIS product. Mechanical rooftop equipment is screened by parapet, which is incorporated into the building's design. Revised final engineering plans have been reviewed by the city's development engineering staff. Any remaining items will need to be addressed prior to committee of the whole. The Lockport Township Fire Protection District and the city's building official have no comment at this time. Should the commission find the development plan for a self-storage facility acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to adopt staff's finding and recommend approval of an amendment to the planned commercial development of Lockport Square at Farrell Road, subject to the following conditions. Condition number 1 has been removed, which was the variance for lot coverage. So the second one, number 2, will become the first condition. Should the self-storage facility not be constructed, the applicant shall rezone the parcel back to the C2 district or rezone the remainder of the development to C3 to avoid potential split zoning in the future. B, a motion to recommend approval of Lot 6 of Lockport Square at Farrell Road from C2 to C3, Highway Commercial. And C, a motion to recommend approval of the preliminary development plan for a self-storage facility in Lockport Square at Farrell at Lot 6 to the following conditions. 1, all remaining items from engineer review memo number 3, dated July 7th, 2022, are to be addressed. This concludes staff's analysis, and the applicant is here this evening for questions.
One clarification, Edelman Road is a public road. It is private north of 159th Street, but not south.
Yes. Thank you, Lance. Thank you, Kimberly. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this? Please come state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Gus DeLay. I'm with Jacob Development, 5629 West Cermak Road, Cicero, Illinois.
Okay, could I have you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
So I want to thank the City of Lockport for allowing me the opportunity to present today. I've worked closely with Lance and Kimberly, who've been extremely helpful in the beginning of the process in determining this facility and the size of the facility over the last 12 months. Very responsive, and again, I want to personally thank both of you for that. Again, the redevelopment is to occur on Lot 6. Jacob Development has developed 2 other self-storage facilities in the Chicagoland area. One located at 6000 West Toohey in Chicago. It is a 100,000 square foot, 2-story self-storage facility managed by CubeSmart. That development was finalized in 2018. The second self-storage facility is located in Rockford, Illinois. That will be a single-story, 100,000 square foot, climate-controlled facility at 2500 North Main Street, which is near the downtown city of Rockford. Again, the development that will occur, redeveloped in the city of Lockport, is located on Lot 6, which, as Kimberly stated, is approximately 2.25 acres of land. The building will be a 4-story, 117,600 square foot facility, comprised of about approximately 30,000 square foot floor plates. There will be approximately 2,500 square feet of office space to greet customers and also sell some storage supplies. The building will be comprised of about 850 self-storage units, and again, it will be 100% climate controlled. As you can see, the renderings make the building unique for a couple reasons. So when we assembled the team to put this project together, I went back to the original civil engineering firm, Spaceco, that designed Lockport Square, was involved in the civil engineering of the development of the entire Lockport Square corridor at 159 Farrell Road. The architect and design team is made up of Littstein Design out of Coral Gables, Florida. They have designed approximately 10 million square feet of self-storage design plans over the last 20 years. We are in preliminary discussions with Store Local to manage the facility. Store Local is a company based out of Newport Beach, California, and they currently have approximately 60 locations that they manage throughout the country. We're excited about the opportunity to put this building in the beautiful city of Lockport. I grew up here 40 years ago. I'm not 40, I wish I was 40. 40 years ago, I do recall just being across the street from this building, and I always thought it was a school until Lance clarified it. It wasn't, but not 40 years ago, right? Yeah. So it's exciting. It brings back a lot of great memories. We're excited about the opportunity to help the city redevelop other sites in the downtown market, and looking for everybody to hopefully approve the project and we move on to the next phase of the development.
Thank you. Thank you, Gus. Questions, comments?
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak before?
Nope.
No, my main one was just the number one from the engineering write-up about the existing drives just being in poor condition, and that being, as long as that's taken care of as part of this, as well as the number 23, the storm 100-year overflow routes. Those are my two main concerns with this size of a building, just making sure that that stuff is wrapped up. But those were my two main concerns, and they seem to be addressed in the engineering memo. So, thank you.
Phil, did you get all your questions answered from engineering standpoint?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Phil?
Question, will this building have a sprinkler system?
Absolutely, 100% sprinkled.
Okay, glad to hear it. I didn't see it in the presentation or anywhere, but I'm glad to hear you're going to have the sprinkler system. Even with a climate-controlled building, there's always a possibility of spontaneous combustion where somebody's got something in their unit they weren't supposed to have, and away it goes.
Yeah, we will meet all of the city of Lockport's fire, local and state codes that are required.
Thank you.
That's in Homer Township, but under jurisdiction of Lockport Fire District, correct?
I have to check with my civil engineering team. Did you say it was a Homer Glen?
It's in Homer Township,
Okay.
but I think it's under, because of the interstate.
It would, oh, that's a good question. I don't know if the
I'm pretty sure it
interstate
is under
changes the
Lockport
boundary.
Township.
Yeah. Dave represents them all,
Yeah, they'll
so.
figure it out, yeah. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Mr. Likens?
Is the yellow part of the store local branding or the yellow color, any particular reasoning behind it?
What are you saying? You don't like
Lance
the
is
color?
smiling. Lance, are you good with the color?
We don't have anything to say
You know,
about the
I
color.
think it came out really yellow. It's not going to look yellow, this yellow. I believe it's a, these are panels that are pre-manufactured, and I know they're not bright yellow. Is that your question? Are they bright yellow?
We'll continue to work with the applicant as they go into final development plans, but if you have any thoughts on,
I'm not
color or other things
against
like that.
I'm not against yellow. It just
Yeah.
maybe looks a little Miami Beach-ish to me. That's all.
Right.
It's a good-looking building
Yeah.
for a storage. It's a very good-looking building.
Thank you very much.
You did a nice job.
And is this based off of an is there a tenant that is in mind for this, or is it to be? Are we still looking around for which company is?
Well, actually, we're going to own or operate.
Okay.
We build, we develop. Yes.
Okay.
And the self-storage facility.
Excellent. Thank you.
We're bringing in a third-party management company to manage the day-to-day operations, but we will own and operate the actual property and real estate.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments? Motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Moved by Maloney,
Second.
second by Garland. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what's your pleasure? Someone's got to talk.
Well, I like it. I think it's going to be, I've run the numbers of potential tax revenue, and it's good.
Thank you. It's better than a vacant piece of land.
Okay, we're not, is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the staff's findings and recommend approval and amendment to the planned commercial development of Lockport Square at Farrell Road, subject to the following conditions. One, variance of lot coverage from 30 to 32. Oh, that was struck, right? So, item 2, and, let's see here. Should the self-storage facility not be constructed, it reverts back to, from C3 to C2. B, motion to approve the rezoning of Lot 6, Lockport Square at Farrell Road from C2 Community Commercial to C3 Highway Commercial. And item C, a motion to approve the preliminary development plans for a self-storage facility in Lockport Square, Lot 18, subject to the following conditions as listed in item 1.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Peters. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote, please. Kathy?
You got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. This will go before the city council on the 20th?
August 3rd.
August 3rd, 7 PM in this room.
I want to thank everyone for their time and the approval.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have a, find it here. Special use permit for a planned residential development. Public hearing? Oh. Yes. Motion to open a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Deskin, second by Maloney. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Kimberly? You're
Thank you,
up.
Chairman. The next case, 2022-009, takes place at the property generally located north of 151st Street and west of I-355. Pulte Homes is seeking approval of a special use permit for a planned residential development, preliminary subdivision plat, and preliminary development plan for a single-family community known as Oak Meadows. Aerial photo is displayed for you. The commission may recall that the subject property was rezoned by Lockport Investments LLC from O2 General Office to R2 Single Family Residential in 2017. This occurred during the time that Prologis Business Park was being considered. The owner had agreed to rezone the vacant land south of the creek to residential to assure the residents that the business park would not expand south. A planned development is granted through the issuance of a special use permit, which is authorized by the City Council upon recommendation from the Plan and Zoning Commission. A public hearing and public notifications are required for a special use permit. All required notifications have been completed. A planned development establishes standards and procedures to provide flexibility and relief from bulk regulations within the district. It encourages sound and imaginative design while providing assurances to the city that in return, the outcome will be a higher quality development. Staff considers certain standards as displayed on your monitor when reviewing a planned development. Staff finds that the proposed development is a cohesive and unified project. Provisions have been made by the developer for functional and beneficial use of open space, such as a bike path and a public park. The proposed community will be a safe and desirable environment. The applicant has established that the planned development is necessary, desirable, and meets all the standards of section 156.12. This can be found on pages 4 through 8 of the written narrative that was included in your packets. The slide that is displayed on your monitor shows a list of variances or deviations. Preliminary development plan review provides formal first consideration of the plan development application, and a preliminary plan and plat have been provided. The Oak Meadows plan proposes a 27.58 acre development with 69 single-family detached homes. A list of deviations from the zoning ordinance that are incorporated into the plan development are displayed. Number 3 was modified to 55%. This was encouraged by staff to allow for accessory items such as patios and walkways. At 55%, the smallest lot could have a 150 square foot patio. This would eliminate the need for future variances as homeowners would not have a hardship. Another item that was amended was number 5. You can see that highlighted in red, it is a reduction of the open space requirement from 40% to 33%. It's actually a decimal, and we rounded down to the next whole number. And then number 9, a reduction of the wetland buffer from 75 feet to 50 feet was removed, as the bike path has been relocated, as shown on the revised plan. Outlots. The outlots that are identified on the plat will provide common open space to be controlled and maintained by a homeowners association, with the exception of Outlot E, which will be controlled by Lockport Township Park District. The preliminary plan is displayed. The plan illustrates a 10-foot bike path that will extend through the community. Creekside Park is located in the northwest corner of Creekside Estates, which is temporarily closed. The petitioner will be dedicating approximately 0.57 acres to the Lockport Township Park District, which will act as an extension of the Creekside Park. Elevations are displayed. Elevations show that there are 4 models proposed for 2-story homes and ranch-style homes. The home sizes have been confirmed that the sizes will range between 1,680 square feet to 2,870 square feet. However, the city does not have specific requirements related to home size. The homes will be constructed with vinyl siding. The petitioner is seeking relief from the masonry requirement. The petitioner will design key, side, and through lots with enhanced treatments. Additional information was included in your packet. And we'll go through the other elevation options displayed as a Newbury model, Mercer, Continental, and a preliminary landscape plan. The plan includes street trees in the right-of-way. The main access off of North Olympic Lane has a landscape median. Landscape traditional yard buffering has been provided along 151st Street for the lots having double frontage, and the plan is in substantial conformance with city code. An updated engineering review was prepared. Any remaining items for review memo number 4 dated July 8th, 2022 will need to be addressed prior to committee of the whole. That will become a condition of approval. Additional items from the landscape are displayed. And then the recommendation, should the commission find the proposed single-family development acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to adopt staff's findings and recommend approval for a special use permit for a planned residential development for Oak Meadows. And B, a motion to recommend approval of the preliminary subdivision plat and preliminary development plan with the 2 following conditions. 1, all remaining items from engineering review number 4 are addressed prior to committee of the whole, and preliminary plat plan will expire after 1 year. This concludes staff's analysis. The applicant is here this evening, and she has prepared a slide presentation for you, and I'm going to hand over the
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Shuck from the law firm Rezoning and Whitaker, 127 Aurora Avenue in Naperville, Illinois. And I'm here on behalf of Pulte Homes in connection with Oak Meadows or Lockport. Here with me tonight I have Fabian Fonders and Matt Raleigh from Pulte as well, who will be answering questions throughout this presentation.
Do they plan on speaking also?
If they're available for questions.
Please come forward so Sonny can swear you in. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Just business address is fine, yeah.
What's that?
Business address is sufficient.
My name is Matt Raleigh, manager of Intelligence at Pulte, and our address is 1900 Gulf Road in Charlotte.
And I'm Fabian Fonders, the land acquisition manager at Pulte, also 900 Gulf Road in Schaumburg.
And if I could ask all three of you to raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick overview of Pulte. Pulte was founded in 1950 and has built almost 750,000 homes throughout the U.S. as the nation's third largest home builder. Here's a list of Pulte's Chicagoland locations, in which includes some nearby suburbs such as Naperville, Plainfield, and Bolingbrook. We've had thousands of interested customers in Lindenhurst, Addison, West Chicago, and Naperville communities. These are very recent communities that were just developed, and we're looking forward to hopefully yet another successful community in Lockport. The subject property is approximately 27 acres on the north side of 151st Street, just west of I-355, and is outlined here in red. As Kimberly mentioned, the property was originally part of that area, outlined here in yellow, generally outlined here in yellow, and was subject to that development agreement for the Lockport Business Park in 2017. In that agreement, the property was rezoned from O2 to R2 residential zoning, leaving the remainder of the property zoned N1 and O2 for the development of that business park. Here's the zoning map identifying the property is zoned R2 and is limited to the permitted land uses under that R2 zoning designation. Under R2 zoning, permitted uses include religious institution housing services, single-family attached dwellings, and single-family detached housing. Out of the permitted uses referenced, single-family detached housing is the lowest impact use in the district. We did host a resident meeting on June 27th, and about 20 to 30 nearby residents attended. At that meeting, people seemed appreciative that the proposal before you for your consideration tonight is single-family detached, and we received generally positive reviews of the project. At the resident meeting, we provided an overview of this 69-home project, discussed the park site expansion, tree removal, 151st Street improvements, and drainage. The park site will be approximately 0.57 acres and will be located in that northwest corner of the property and will be dedicated to the Lockport Park Township, as Kimberly mentioned. The park will be an extension of that existing Creekside Park, and the Park District has agreed to construct the improvements on the park site. With respect to drainage, we put together a few exhibits just to kind of walk you through the existing conditions and the proposed drainage conditions once the project is developed. Here we have an elevation map indicating the high points and low points on the property, and the arrows generally showing where the water is draining today. Existing drainage based upon that elevation map can be separated into two separate drainage areas. In its current condition, Area 1 is approximately 25.07 acres and drains to the north. The peak flow in a 100-year event currently draining to the north is 87.38 cubic feet per second. The drainage area number 2, which is located in that southwest corner of the property in green, consists of 3.42 acres and currently drains to the west into Creekside Estates. The peak flow in a 100-year event under that drainage area in the current conditions is 16.50 cubic feet per second. Under the stormwater management system for the project, we will completely eliminate the drainage area number 2 that was located in the southwest corner of the property, and 100% of the stormwater will drain to the north. The total amount of peak flow in the 100-year event will be reduced from 103.88 cubic feet per second to 5.68 cubic feet per second, which equates to approximately a 95% reduction in peak flow for a 100-year event under this stormwater management system. So making sure that all that water will be directed north and away from the residents in the Creekside Estate subdivision. Next, we discuss tree preservation. This exhibit generally illustrates what trees will be preserved and how, by and large, we are not disturbing the existing buffer to the north, with the exception of what appears to be maybe 4 trees within the entirety of that buffer. Important to note that the majority of this buffer is located outside of our project area, and we would only remove trees that are located on our property. In addition, most of the trees located along the west property line will be preserved, with the exception of a couple poor trees, trees that are in poor condition, that will be removed, and the existing hedgerow tree line will be cleaned up. Ultimately, we're going to be preserving as many trees as absolutely possible. Our most recent plans depict the 151st Street improvements. The city will begin the widening of 151st Street this fall. As part of our development, we will construct the northbound and southbound left-hand turn lanes, along with the sidewalk that's depicted for the length of the property. Next, we'll discuss the home product. The community will consist of Bultese and Meadows Series housing line. This housing line is extremely desirable and has been proven to be very successful in today's market, especially within the Chicagoland area. This series of home will feature not less than 4 different floor plans, and each floor plan will have between 4 or 5 different elevations in order to ensure there's anti-monotony throughout the community. The size of each home is located under the square feet column, so they range between 1,600 square feet to 3,100 square feet, depending on the floor plan and the amount of options that are selected that the resident is allowed to select. Here's an example of the Newbury floor plan and how each elevation includes a mix of siding and materials, indicating that each option will provide flexibility in terms of different styles and homes throughout the community. Again, the resident has the option to upgrade with siding, whether that be masonry accents or just different styles throughout the model. The Craftsman has soft gables and columns are depicted there. It's kind of hard to see on there, but we have 3 different styles identified. On the farmhouse, you'll see some sharper angles than the Craftsman, and there is an increased roof pitch on those homes as well as vertical siding. The traditional home has styles of American rural architectural, including deep overhangs and deeper porches. Accordingly, each of these styles will be offered as part of the community, and their typical styles in Lockport in accordance with the city zoning code. The same will apply to all of the floor plans offered within the community. Just for the sake of saving time, I wasn't going to walk through every single elevation. I'm happy to move back to that if we need to. Here you'll see our corner side lots identified in blue. Our key lots are at the entrances to the community identified in orange, and the through lots are identified in purple. All in all, we've worked with staff in order to negotiate the features of these homes and what they will have for each category and the requirements we plan to fully comply with. Here are a few photos of some of the modern home interiors of recent developments. Generally, the homes have an open space concept and offer several upgrades and additional features and spaces. With that, I'll conclude by saying we're very excited for the opportunity to move this project forward, and I want to thank you for your time and consideration this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Caitlin. Is there anyone here from the public wishes to speak?
I'd like to speak.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Jim Miles, 611 South Washington Street.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Being a home builder, I used to be a home builder today, I do it anymore. One of the biggest concerns I see here is a smaller lot, 55 feet wide. The reason is maybe last, with back sets and putting in pools and getting around the side of these houses. I don't know if that'll work out, it seems like that 5 foot don't sound like much, but when you're building and you're trying to get stuff around the house and put concrete patios in, and then you have all your setbacks are all shrunk. So, and then the other thing I thought was the vinyl siding in front. They make a lot of nice vinyl products, but maybe there should be some masonry for the vinyl products that they use now in front of these homes is very good. So I'm not really so much myself opposed to that, but I was thinking about the 5 foot difference in the amount. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ronald Davis. My address is 15119 Olympic Lane.
What your address, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Your address is?
15119 Olympic Lane, Vermont.
Okay, so you're right across the street from this subdivision. Okay.
Call it Brownsville.
Could you raise your right hand? Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
A couple quick questions. In the document that I received in the mail from council, it outlines that the property is owned by Lockport Investments and the city of Lockport. Who are the principal owners of Lockport Investments?
Ron, if you ask the questions, then we'll get an answer to them. So, who's principal owner?
We're gonna keep it running.
Nobody from the city of Lockport owns it, so.
Number two, from the letter here, I determined that the city of Lockport and Lockport Investments Limited Liability are the owners of the property, and they are going to subcontract to Pulte to build this project. Why was Pulte chosen over another builder?
I can't answer that. I have not seen that
There are
letter.
two properties, or there are multiple parcels. One of the parcels is owned by the city that has the city well and tower. The other parcels are owned by Lockport Investments. It's a separate entity. They're not co-owned. The
Yeah.
city-
Where the water tower is, our roadway is on part of their property. That's probably why it's listed that way. And I'm assuming that, I don't know, I'm not, we'll let Sonny answer that. but-
I'll clarify it. So on the back side of the new well house, there was some extra property that was no longer needed for our construction, nor did we want to maintain it. So we were willing to provide that to Pulte as a part of their open space plan so that they ultimately become responsible for the maintenance of it.
Okay.
That's
So
why
that parcel was given to Pulte.
we negotiated in exchange for the access, a new access road to get to the well house as opposed to having another curb cut off of 151st Street. It allows us to be able to utilize a real road to be able to get in there as opposed to the gravel road that's currently there.
A few more things, if I may.
Sure.
What are the potential impact fees that the Pulte is going to pay the city to push the project forward? And have we considered the impact on all these future residents on public services? We're going to have to increase the police department, fire department, increase the number of school teachers. How's that all going to be addressed?
Okay.
They'll pay the same impact fees as
They pay
everybody
the
else.
same impact fees as every other developer. The schools are all notified of this, and they have no impact, no problem with it. The actually enrollment has gone down in our high school and grade schools at this time.
Now, the other question I have is, there's enough issues with traffic on 151st Street now, and once you widen it in this project with Clinton, it's only going to be worse. What's the plan to address that?
Well, it's not going to be widened, so to speak. You'll have turn lanes and a deceleration lane, but it's not going to be widened.
As a part of the future reconstruction, it would be widened to a 3-lane cross-section to accommodate dedicated left turn lanes into both this development, but also to Olympic Lane. So as opposed to remaining in the flow of traffic, you'll have a dedicated left turn lane to Olympic Lane, which will make it safer for you to get in.
So instead of 2 lanes, one each way, there's going to be 2 lanes each way.
It'll be 2 lane, 1 lane this way, 1 lane this way, and then a center turn lane at the intersections.
I think that pretty much covers it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else from public wish to speak? All right. Kimberly, one question, or Phil. Why, in our engineering reports lately, we're getting, well, they haven't complied with this and that, but they'll need to comply by the committee of the whole meeting. I think it should be addressed that it's at the planning commission meeting so that we have a better idea of some of the issues they're not answering, because that may make a little sway your way what you're thinking also. You know, if somebody said, well, I think we should widen this road, and the engineer agrees with it, and we vote on it beforehand, I think we should have that addressed at planning commission, not at committee of the whole or before committee of the whole. It should all be addressed before it comes here and goes in the packet.
I guess what I would suggest is, it depends on what the item is. I mean, if it's like, please add a label to the drawing.
Well, yeah, there's some items. With some items, we have cul-de-sacs, the turning radius cul-de-sacs. Police, the fire department didn't respond to it. The engineering department hasn't gotten a response from it. So before we make a decision on is that cul-de-sac big enough or not, because we're not the engineers, it should be addressed before we make a vote on it and recommend it to the city council contingent upon that.
I would have to address that is generally typical of other applications, like the one before the
It should
Planning
be
and Zoning
addressed.
Commission? No, where it states that it will be addressed by the committee, before the committee of the whole.
Where does
which
it
is
say that?
Pretty much standard language regarding conditions that must be made before the committee of the whole. So sometimes we do not get the response from the fire district because there are no concerns. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the fire district, I'm talking about the engineer's review, not the fire district.
Do you want to
'Cause
address that,
if
Phil?
the engineering department spends 4 hours reviewing the plans for the subdivision, sends them their comments and wants their responses, and has no responses, and comes before us, that can create an issue. And if that's the case, then it doesn't come before us. Because they have time to get everything else done, but we keep getting, as long as it's addressed prior to committee of the whole. Well, you may not be in agreement with them, Phil, before a committee of the whole, and then we're backlogged. But if you say here, we're not in agreement with this, we have the chance to change that before we make a recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you agree with that?
Typically, I would agree that it is best to have as many, I mean, we want to have as clean of a report for PZC as possible. There are typically the items that we still leave for the applicant to resolve, such as the last case. It was updating their language for water and sewer testing. So that's something that it was just kind of getting that cleaned up. Whereas there's other ones where if there's outstanding items, then, that's when we would approach Kimberly and Lance to ask for a continuance. So I guess, kind of to Lance's point, it kind of depends on the item.
Right.
I would say that I would suggest that if you have any questions on a specific item that either wasn't addressed, it's a great opportunity to ask Phil to kind of expound on it. We do obviously collaborate together before we would put something on the agenda to make sure that either engineering feels like the issue is resolvable and it isn't materially impactful on the project before we would bring it to you for a review. But if there are questions that you have about a specific comment on the engineering review memo, that's why Phil attends. And again, this is a preliminary development
Well,
plan.
not only preliminary,
so-
but the other ones. The one before us with the townhomes last month. What's the radius of the cul-de-sac? Nobody could answer the question. Why? Should have been answered by engineering from the city, the developer, or the fire district.
Well,
The cul-de-sac have the right radius for a fire truck turnaround? Yes or no is the answer, not maybe. Nobody here can answer that question.
well, not
We're getting
to,
off
not
the
to go,
subject
I was
of
going
this.
to say, we
We'll
can
have
talk
that
about that
discussion
later.
later.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, next. Thank you, Phil. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen?
Do we have to close the public hearing first, or can we make our comments now?
You can make your comments now so she can answer.
Well, yeah, I believe the applicant has a right to address any of the
Right,
questions that
so
were
we leave the
addressed.
hearing open so the commission can ask
Yes.
the questions and then
Yeah.
close it to vote. Yes. Thank you, Aaron. Go ahead.
I have, several questions on this one. It just seems like we're trying to force too many homes on a small spot here. I mean, I did the math, and it's 10 to 14 additional homes based on the guidelines. And, I know the guidelines are the guidelines, and there are variances involved, but it just seems like we're pushing it a little bit. The biggest impact I saw was on that western edge, where now we're not going to have backyards lining up to people that have already built there. And so now they're going to have, looking over, they have two fences, they have two different fences, they got two different neighbors. It kind of negatively impacts them a little bit. So, that's not part of this community, so that, we still have a service to those people to kind of provide to them what I think would be kind of fair for those lots to line up. Within the community, if they're not facing anyone else or whatever, they choose to buy in there, I guess I can live with that a little bit more. But it just seems that, especially on that western edge, we're really kind of pushing the boundary compared to the previous development of Creekside, where, people, now they're going to kind of be paying the price. It's not really a question, it's just something I wanted to point out in general. Number two, So the open space is going down to 33, almost 34%, and that basically all that open space isn't even really part of this development. It's kind of this outlot F, which doesn't really specify what's going to be there. Is it just going to be open grass, or what's going to be over there? It just seems like within the actual footprint of the homes, it really just seems kind of what we were trying to avoid a little bit when we set these guidelines up. And then my third point would also be on the vinyl siding. I know the gentleman that built the homes probably knows a heck of a lot more about vinyl siding than I do, but I also know that we've had, over the past year, 15 different companies come in here and not have a problem with it, and they've kind of listened to the guidelines and the recommendation. That includes national builders like M&I. It also includes several local builders that didn't push back on that guideline, and if we didn't give them that option, why are we offering it here? I guess is my kind of concern. Because once we give it to Pulte, it'll be like, well, you gave it to this national guy, and now every single townhome development that comes in here is going to want to use vinyl siding. And I don't really like the precedent that sets when we specifically wrote the code to avoid that stuff. And again, I know the product is improved from the stuff that fades out after 6 months that was built 40 years ago and all that, but it just seems like there's a lot of bending and it's a lot of asking on multiple different fronts. It's not just, hey, we need this variance, we need this different, we need this different. It's like a list of 8 things plus the vinyl siding thing on top, and it kind of all adds up, and I don't know. I'm not super comfortable with where we're at right now. I'm willing to listen to all points of view, but that's kind of where I am off the front.
Okay.
Sure, thank you.
Happy to answer that. Just in comparison to our community, Creekside Estates was developed and zoned R1 back in 2004. So they were built in advance of a Great Recession. It was just a way different time, different market than today's market. Pulte's constructed over 500 homes in the Chicagoland area in the last year, and their bread and butter is this Meadows Series home, which I understand it appears to be a smaller home, smaller lot, all of that. But it's actually very highly desirable in this area, in the Chicagoland market, because it's generally a nice sized home. As you saw, they extend up to about 3,100 square feet, depending on the floor plan and model. But on a smaller footprint, because they're minimizing the private yards in lieu of having some more common areas. So we have the HOA common area that's like a plaza at the entry, central to the community. We have the interconnecting trail system, and then we have that extension of the park site at Creekside Estates. Their park is closed, so we're happy to open this up and allow. It's going to be dedicated to the public, so anybody can use it, and it will be an extension and improved of that park. So with that, we feel that the Meadows Series, they've been selling in excess of $500,000 in other areas of the Chicagoland area. This isn't their biggest product, but they've been selling very well, and it is highly desirable to that younger demographic who's seeking to leave those urban locations with those young families, get out, get in jogging strollers, and get out in the community. And so we've designed this community. It's driven based upon the very current market data from those recent Pulte communities. So I totally understand your concerns, but that's kind of where this plan was generated and where it came from. And I do feel like the interconnecting trail system throughout the stormwater detention basins and stuff, it makes that open space actually something that you can use and not just look at. So I hope that addresses that. With respect to the vinyl siding, as I said, we have the opportunity to upgrade, and there's selections in order to make those features and architectural features more prominent on the elevations. We're happy to work with staff to make sure that certain elements are going to be incorporated into those elevations in accordance with the code. And then what was I think that was most.
It was it. But I think.
Yeah, no, thank you.
And with respect to the alignment, I mean, again,
Yeah.
this is R2, that's zone R1, so these
Well,
will be smaller lots.
The R2 expired a few years ago. You're rezoning today. The R2 didn't?
No, this was
Yeah.
passed in, I think, 2017,
Yep.
and the development agreement is for more plans, is it 20 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still R2, so under R2 zoning, they would be smaller lots to begin with.
But we
And-
still have an ordinance, a brick ordinance, a masonry ordinance, or hardy board siding. You're comparing apples to oranges with the vinyl siding. The other developments that have been approved in the past have went with hardy board siding and some masonry. You're offering masonry as an upgrade, which, why couldn't you just follow the code and build the houses to the code instead of ask for a variance, is his point.
The
and my point also.
The reason for that as well is because Pulte, the elevations that I showed you, if you saw, they're actually still in black and white because they're brand new elevations being developed for this community. So we actually don't have color renderings of those homes just yet. It's based upon, this is market driven, so this is based upon what we're seeing in the market and what is actually very desirable
The
for
color
current
things here.
homeowners. So these are not.
Right,
color
but you have
renderings.
masonry on some of these.
Correct, so
Okay.
these are designed specifically because the market is, these younger demographic, this is what they're looking for, they're looking for that option for the modern farmhouse.
What age group would that be?
They might not necessarily want these.
What age group would that be?
I'm sorry.
You said this is younger demographics, looking at what age group?
Millennial fleeing the city with a young family.
Such as,
My niece,
what?
my wife's niece. That's the demographic.
I'm sorry, Scott?
The demographic is my wife's niece who lives in Sagebrook with her husband. She's pregnant, and they're building a home, starter home in Oswego because she can't afford Lockport.
Okay.
So,
Well,
I
I'm-
understand that demographic. And what do these homes go for?
So the Meadow series traditionally in the Chicagoland area, we would expect them to start around 450, but we've seen them go up to starting around 500.
So
And going up from there.
these homes right now would start at 450 for 1,500 square feet?
Yeah, so our starting prices here are going to be around 400 all in anticipated with all our upgrades. It'll end up around 500 or so, a little over 500.
So
Keelan's absolutely right. In the Chicagoland area, what we see with these Meadow series, it is quite a range. It can go up to, depending on the community, 6 or
So you're on demographic group one side that can afford a house, but you're saying 400,000 is just starting point.
For new construction.
So the baseline 1,500 square foot, no upgrade starts at 450?
We start closer to 4, sorry. Start
4?
I think the start we have is around 399.
That's really expensive.
Real quick.
Come on up, come on up to the podium.
Let's understand this. The basic house will be 400. If you hold him to the standard that you've written, where he has to use masonry, that's an upgrade. So that's why the house is gonna go from 400 to 450 or 500.
Yes, good point.
Why not just hold him to the standard instead of making the variance?
Good point.
Well,
Thank you.
Because again, you brought up a good point.
people
If you make an exception for
moving
him,
out.
you've established that as the new standard. Every builder is gonna come in and want the same thing, and there's no way you can tell them no.
Point well taken, thank you.
Please understand that in the zoning code that we reviewed and approved with all of you, we discussed that Appendix A, the exterior building materials item for residential properties, has 2 components to it. The first is if you are not meeting architectural styles that are identifiable via the details that are incorporated into the building, because we as a group valued the design of the building over a material, you would need to use 50% masonry if it didn't have any style. So if you're just going to put a box up that had a roof on it, it needed to have 50% masonry. If you could design the home so that it was representative of a series of different architectural styles that represent a detailing that was consistent with that heritage, then you were allowed to use vinyl and you did not need to meet a 50% threshold. We offered vinyl options to MI Homes to see if they would be interested in that. They chose not to do that because their target market didn't want that. They have a target market that is different. Pulte has a target market that does want something like that or is willing to have something like that. Unfortunately, home prices today in all the new homes are super challenged. Every home builder that we have talked to has increased their prices 30 to 40% over the past year and a half. Because of
But are they gonna
material.
reduce them when the lumber prices?
No, they won't. That's the hard part. And so,
Rise.
so we're stuck in two places. You've got people who are willing to pay it. Silo Bend is selling homes left and right. And you've got other people who are trying to keep costs to the degree that they can, because Silo Bend's homes now are selling for $500,000 or $600,000, $750,000. We have a duplex that's going to be selling for $650,000 in town. So, yes, there is a 50% masonry requirement, but that's why we have worked with Pulte on developing architectural elevations that are consistent with the architectural styles that are outlined in the code that all of you approve. So it's not a true variance. It is a request for a deviation to look at the alternative part of that code. I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, and we have a minimum architectural gauge siding for the vinyl that is not builder's grade, is 0.044 millimeters, which is the second highest level that you can get. All the board and batten that you see on the plans and the shake is significantly higher than 0.050. So there are thickness quantities in here that are not reflective of vinyl when that restriction was originally put in the early 2000s, when builders were allowed to get away with using builder's grade at 0.038 or 36. It made a huge difference. As Dave has mentioned on numerous occasions, the installation method wasn't the great. That's why we review and inspect siding installation methods to make sure that it doesn't do the warping, but the quality of vinyl siding is vastly different than it was in the past.
So on that same page, has everyone received a copy of the new codes?
If you have not, we sent out copies when we approved it. I mean, you all received PDF copies when we approved the code.
Want to make sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was in your packet. We couldn't approve it if you didn't have it.
Okay, let's keep moving here. Who's next, Bill?
In the history that's provided here, it says that the owner, Lockport Investments, had agreed to rezone the vacant property south of the creek residential to assure the residents south of the Prologis Business Park that future development will be compatible with the existing residential community. The existing residential community is Creekside Estates, and I don't see this as being even remotely compatible. What you're proposing here is far inferior to what the Creekside Estates development. I just can't go along with all these variances and what you're proposing here. I can't support this. I'm sorry.
If I can clarify, the property is zoned R2. Creekside Estates is zoned R1. The allowable use on this property is also attached single-family housing, as Caitlin outlined. If they chose to put townhomes on this property, they could develop upwards of 120 units on this property. So I just want to make sure that we're clear when we're talking about consistent with Creekside Estates, that we recognize that there's a zoning difference, and that we recognize that any developer that wanted to come through the door and put townhomes on this property that would double the number of units that are currently located on this plan could do that. So I just want to make sure that we're all understanding, that it is not a directly comparable relationship with Creekside Estates. It's a completely different zoning district that allows for a completely different housing type.
Matt? My question was answered on the price points of the homes.
Okay.
I mean, my only comment would be is that I do regret in recent years that the whole idea of a starter home has been almost non-existent. So I was happy to see that these homes were as small as 1,600 square feet. I do regret also, though, that they would start at 400,000. But to Lance's point, that's detached. A lot of people would like to have their own home without sharing the walls. So yes, they're asking for some variances. Yes, it might not be ideal for everyone, but I do think we should consider diversity in our housing in Lockport. And this would be something different.
Okay.
Well, I have multiple issues. First issue is why is this not a concept plan presentation? Because I feel like I'm backed into a corner here. And so in a concept plan presentation, we could make comments that and make recommendations that a developer could go ahead and consider prior to, and to come back at a preliminary, and we were not afforded that opportunity. Granted, our municipal code does not require a concept plan, but this is the first residential development in my, that I can recall that didn't come through in a concept plan, okay? So things such as, I don't like it at all that the western side of your development does not line up with the fence lines of in Creekside Estates. I just think we have in the past two huge residential developments. That was really one of the sticking points with when somebody came through about 20. What the Sagebrook came through is they came when there was a hodgepodge of connections, and we required that they go ahead and line up. Okay, they lined up not only with the pre-existing properties that were in Karen Springs 5, but they also line up with themselves on the inside. We required them to put in a sidewalk that they didn't want to put in to connect the subdivision to 163rd Street. So for me, that's a sticking point. The sticking point here is there's what, 8 or 9. Just eliminate 2 and line up. Those people have 75-foot width backyards. They'll line up with Creekside. So now we are in. What was the word, comparable or compatible with that subdivision? I have an issue with the increasing the coverage. Where's the engineering plan review? Increasing the coverage from 30% to possible 40%. Well, when I look at hold that, go back.
I was actually going to find a better chart for you.
Okay, well, all I'm doing is looking at numbers. I'm looking at 57 along the back, okay? So it tells me it's 57 feet width. I multiply that by 120. So it gives me that width, all right? So it's a decrease of 3 feet by 120 feet. So what happens here is when Bill and Mary comes to the city of Lockport requesting to go ahead and put in a 12-foot by 12-foot deck with a stairwell going down to a pool, what's going to happen is they're going to say, well, you're above the coverage, and they're going to have to go ahead and pay the VIG to go ahead and go see if they can get a variance, and they're either going to get an administrative variance and pay more VIG if it doesn't go ahead and come before us with the administrative variance. I haven't liked that since for the past 12 years. I don't like it today. That's a huge issue. You want to go ahead and eliminate the variance for increasing to the 40%. Let's add 3 feet along the width. This goes 60 feet. Yes, you'll lose a couple of lots, but at a $400,000, price point, beginning point, plus the add-ons, you're going to make a couple of bucks. So my question to the developer is real simple. Are you willing to go ahead and increase the widths on the northern street to 60 feet? And are you willing to go ahead and match up the 75-foot widths with Creekside? It's an important yes or no answer here.
So the widths of the streets are actually comparable to
I'm not asking the widths, the widths of the lots.
the lots in Creekside Estates are zone R1, and once again, those were constructed in 2004, different market pre-recession.
That's not what ma'am, that's not what I asked.
Let her finish her sentence.
This is based upon current market, what is working today for Pulte in the Chicagoland area. I want to walk you through this chart very quickly about lot coverage, the impervious surface area. Here I have every floor plan listed. I have, based upon the base model impervious calculation listed there. The base model includes first floor living area, garage, driveway, porch, and front walkway. Then if you move to the next column, I have the square footage. I'm sorry, let me back up. This is based upon the minimum lot size. So this is the absolute worst case scenario, and then I'll show you what it yields for the remaining square footage on each lot that can be allocated for accessory uses, and then I'll touch base on one more thing. So if you move to the next column, under the minimum lot size, the maximum options for each floor plan is listed there for the square footage. Then we move to the maximum options if you're assuming the 55% impervious area as staff recommended and supporting that we move forward with. We have this remaining square footage that can be allocated for accessory uses for those residents. Now, I also want to point out-
Let me interrupt something, Caitlin, right here. So, and you take off a 10-foot by 57-foot utility easement in the backyard, that's 570 square feet less. Then you take off a utility easement between the houses with a 6-foot setback on each side, where do we end up at? I mean, let me read this size of the patio, 150 square foot patio. It's 12 and a half foot by 12 foot. It's not very big. You can't put a picnic table on it with tables on it. So the question is, the lot coverage is killing you here. And then you've got a 25-foot rear yard setback, plus you got a 10-foot utility easement back there. So if you want to put a covered patio in, which a lot of the new younger generation that you're trying to attract want to do, they can only go out 18 to 20 feet. So that's footage, not square footage, it's factual. And what we've had problems with is homeowners come in and want to build a 24-foot covered patio. They want to put a swimming pool in. Well, you got too much lot, you don't fit in the lot coverage. It's too big, it's too close to the easement. It's on the easement. You don't have room in your backyard. That's what creates the problems. That's why you're getting all these questions tonight.
I understand. If I could chime in.
Go ahead.
If I
I just wanted to get you right on the square footage of a patio.
And I completely understand, but I wanted to finish my thought on that point was, Pulte is going to have covenants, conditions, and restrictions recorded against every lot in this subdivision. Their covenants, conditions, and restrictions are extremely restrictive as to what kinds of accessories can be located on these properties. For example, Pulte's does not allow above-ground pools, sheds, dog houses, gazebos, anything of that nature. So because they want to keep a uniform community and cohesive community throughout, we have the same fence restrictions throughout the community. Also, I would let Fabian chime in here with respect to the back patio or deck that you were referring to. That's included in the base or the full options, maximum options calculated. So nobody can come in and request for a bigger deck because they're going to build the biggest deck possible under this worst case scenario. So that's where I'm coming from on this. They still have this much extra space to be allocated for whatever permits them in the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. So they will not be coming back for variances. This is the amount of space. Again, worst case scenario, smallest lot with the biggest floor plan and all of the options. So this is going to happen next to no time.
So thank you for clarifying that. So let's go to a perfect world here. Once this subdivision is built out, I assume there'll be a homeowner association?
Yes.
Most homeowner associations go defunct.
Not.
Most. And what we're faced with here at the city, and the staff is, and the contractors are well, I want to put a pool in. They did it down there. Well, they didn't get a permit. Well, the homeowner association went defunct because nobody cares anymore. We've seen it, we've had it, and it's done. So a lot of these variances you're asking for are totally ridiculous in my book. I mean, you're, you're asking for a reduction in pavement width from 28 to 25 feet. But in your brochure, it says you're gonna match up to Creekside. Is that correct?
Are you the road width? That is what Creekside states.
No, Creekside, excuse me, Creekside Estates is actually 31 feet 4 inches curb to curb and 28 foot of pavement. And you want us to reduce that to 25. That's 3 feet. That's a lot. You put a car on each side of the road, you're not gonna get a car between them.
Again, this was.
And that happens all the time. You can base it on who wants what and who wants to pay what. That's the facts of it.
This is based upon our stormwater detention, our design.
I don't care about the market. The market doesn't call for cars driving between them.
This was also consistent with other standards in other communities that were granted approvals.
But the development here is in Lockport. So to go get, so to get back to my question, to the two of you, not you, ma'am, the two of you, are you willing to go ahead and increase the lot widths to 60 feet along the northern edge, so we don't have to worry about giving you another 10%? And are you willing to go ahead and match up with the 75-foot width with Creekside Estates? It's the most important question of the night.
Again, this is based upon.
I'm not, ma'am, I'm asking the developers.
I'm a representative of the developers.
Okay.
I'm here to speak on
All
their
right, fine.
The
Okay.
comments are based upon this specific model in the community. We're happy to go back and talk and reconvene if we would be willing.
And that's why we wanted this should be a concept plan.
Table this in order to bring it back before you after we are able to reconvene. We would be happy to do that and take back the feedback. I also wanted to point out, I know you mentioned.
Just for the record.
Darren, stop. Let her talk, and then respect her talking, then.
Well, I haven't, she's interrupted me.
She's talking. Let her finish her conversation. We're not here to argue with anybody. We're here to talk.
I also just wanted to say, I do apologize, we did not come in through the concept review, but we have been working diligently with staff on all of our plans and all of the design metrics that have gone into this and the thoughtfulness that have actually gone into this. We also did take the extra step to meet with the neighbors and to talk to them about any concerns that they might have had. And like I said, we had about 20 to 30 neighbors come out, and they were all very excited about the community. They were happy to see single family. They were happy to not see townhomes. They loved the extension of the park. They loved the trail system. So I just wanted to point out that we've been trying to work with our neighbors to alleviate any concerns they might have had. Especially, we spoke to several of the neighbors that were along that western property line at Creekside, who they were just concerned with the trees. Are we going to be preserving the trees over there? And we are, except for about 2 trees that are in good condition. And they were happy to hear that, and they were generally very excited for this project.
Did you provide a tree report from an arborist or anything?
We had a tree preservation, or tree, the landscape plan provided.
That's
a
fine.
tree
Yes or no?
preservation plan.
Yeah.
All of that is part of your
Okay.
Okay, is it my turn?
Wait, hey,
Okay,
stop.
all right. So, for the record, I requested that you be put on hold and not be prepared before us tonight. Okay? For this very reason. I requested that you come back as a concept plan. I requested that. Okay?
Well,
and that's not what happened. So, to get back to my question, are you all willing to go ahead and increase the width of the properties to 60 feet and match up with Creekside?
Yes, sir. I do appreciate your questions. Again, my name is Matt Brawley. I run Appendix for Pulte in Chicagoland. Listening to the conversation tonight, tangentially really involved in this project, but Pulte Homes has been working and really admires this plan and wants to work with the community. We are tonight requesting a vote on the plan that we are presenting to you. We do appreciate your deliberation on this. This is a great plan. I'd be proud to have this plan in my neighborhood, in my community. Serving as a local official like you guys. But again, at this time, we're not looking to redesign the site. We would actually encourage you to deliberate and take action on the plan.
Okay. Well, one of the things that caught my eye here, and Phil, maybe you know the answer to this, or Lance, we're not privy to this information. It says on this preliminary engineering plan that the 151st Street widening to be redesigned and constructed by the city of Lockport under a cost share agreement with the developer. How does that work?
What do you mean?
Is the city paying for it? The taxpayers are paying for this, or what's the trade-off here? Because
So the trade-off is that the issue that we ran into was a timing issue.
What?
A timing issue. What we didn't want to occur is we would redo 151st Street at taxpayer expense.
Yeah.
And then have it be ground up by a bunch of earth-moving equipment, large trucks, and everything else. So in order to accommodate that, I'm not sure if this has been finally approved, but we're going to strip the top off of 151st Street so that there's just the binder level exposed so that they can run all of their equipment in and out of the site to be able to do that, and then we will come back and do the top coat. What we didn't want to do was to have a developer doing a roadway construction project in the public right-of-way. We wanted to make sure that we manage that. Their commitment to it was a dollar amount to be able to offset the costs of their impact to the roadway. The plan was to resurface 151st Street regardless.
It's in the city's CIP plan.
Right.
Correct.
That's the plan regardless of whether or not they come or Joe Blow comes in with a new plan next month. The issue was that with a plan happening, we wanted to make sure that it had the 3 lanes with the dedicated turn lanes and all that kind of stuff. In order to accomplish that, but not have it be ripped up, Pulte was willing to dedicate dollars as opposed to do construction work so that the city could manage the project.
So are they going to put those dollars up front?
Yes.
Not a bond, cash
Correct.
money, in a bank account, city of Lockport's money. So we're going to be totally reimbursed for this.
Correct.
Totally? None of our taxpayers' money.
Well, I mean, we'll be reimbursed to the cost of what the difference is. But again, remember, we were going to resurface 151st Street anyways. So that is a taxpayer cost that would be done because of the condition that 151st is in right now. That was a planned project. It's in the CIP. It was going to be done regardless of whether this development happened or not. Because of this development, it offered us the opportunity to fully redo 151st Street, widen it out to the width that we wanted it to be for if development was to occur on the north side of 151st Street. That opportunity occurred because Pulte was willing to dedicate the dollars to be able to accommodate that widening as a part of their project.
Okay, because I just saw that, and our taxes go up every year is a conversation we had today. And I know the city lowers the multiplier, but the assessed valuations go up. And I saw that, and that didn't sit too well. But one other comment here, I've heard comments back and forth about lining up with Creekside. That's going to be next to impossible to do, even if you did the 75-foot lots, because of the contour of the land from 151st Street north, because you'd have to line that corner lot up exact and keep moving. And because of the radius of the cul-de-sac and location, that's not going to happen. I mean, if it does, the lot's going to be 100 feet wide in the back and 75 in the front. But I don't agree with the lot sizes. I don't agree with all these utility easements we have to have, the house sizes, the rear yard. I don't agree with half of it, most of it. I don't care what the demographics of the market say. We sit here and make codes and make changes and this and that, and we come in and we get a dozen variances. The rules are the rules. We have to play by them. And when you're gone and the homeowners association runs for a year and then goes defunct, the city has to deal with all this stuff, and we deal with it now, every day.
And you can talk to the people in the building department, you can talk to the contractors about, and the homeowner that's yelling at the contractor and the building department and engineering because I can't put a pool in my backyard. Who said? Nobody told me. Well, the fact is, it may be in your documents when you sell it to them, but they didn't read them, and their attorney didn't read them to them. But we deal with them. You'll be gone. And we're just trying to protect our citizens and taxpayers here to get the best product we can. I don't like the fact that we're trading off vinyl siding for masonry. Every builder around for 25 years has had to comply to that. Yes, we did make a change with the vinyl, but we've made change with other subdivisions. The trade-off was hardy board siding, not vinyl. And I haven't always agreed with that brick ordinance from the start, but everybody's had to abide by it. And why should we change now is my point.
So, a few minutes ago, the comment was made that we could table. So we're gonna have a couple of choices. I'm gonna ask you what choice you want us to do tonight. We can either go ahead and vote on this, or we can have y'all come back with some of the comments that we've made tonight. Your choice.
Please take a vote.
Table? Okay.
Take a vote?
Take a vote, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions or comments?
I'm ready to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Deskin. Second by Maloney. Okay. Thank you, Kathy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for the look, Kathy. Oh, forgot. Okay, what's your pleasure here? Or is there a pleasure? It's not a pleasure, it's what do you want to do?
Is this one motion or two, Sonny?
Actually, the motion would
Can it be
be
both motions
to,
together?
yeah, I would recommend doing both. You could do a motion to adopt the staff findings, the recommendation approval of the special use permit for the PUD, and then, you know, it's up to you if you want to do it in a second motion, but also a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan and the preliminary development plan with the remaining items from engineering review memo number 2 to be addressed before the committee of the whole. And again, the preliminary plan would be good for 1 year.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to adopt staff's findings and recommend approval of the special use permit, for planned residential development, and a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plat and preliminary development plan.
We got one motion, we have to have a second first, then we'll go to a second motion.
No, you could do it all one, or you could bifurcate the motion if you wanted to, but I believe Commissioner Likens is doing it all in one motion.
We did
Just
the
like we
last
did
one.
for the last
Okay,
time.
3
Yeah.
of them.
Yep.
That's the last one, I think. Together.
Yeah, and if I could ask Phil, that, are there any remaining outstanding items from the engineering side?
No, there are no outstanding items in our engineering review number 4 dated July 8th, which was included in your package.
Thank you.
Okay, and a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plat, preliminary development plan, subject to the following conditions. 1, all remaining items from engineering review number 4, memo dated July 8th, 2022, be addressed prior to committee of the whole. Number 2, preliminary plat plan will expire after 1 year. Did I get them all, Sonny?
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, second by Wheeler. Any questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
You got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
No.
Oxley.
No.
Peters.
No.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have anything under new business? Under old business? Citizens to be heard? Chairman's report. Lance, I would request that you send everyone a copy of the new updated codes, even though we think we have, so everybody has a new, fresh copy, so everybody knows what direction we're going. Let me know if you want paper. Paper.
Paper? Paper?
Paper?
Sure.
I'm fine with PDF, I'm pretty sure I have a
Mr.
copy.
Sure over here.
Okay. Commissioner Likens?
Paper.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5. 5 papers.
Thank you, Lance. A couple of things here. If you read your packet and you don't like it, call me and explain it to me. What you don't like, why you don't like it. I'll convey that to Lance. I don't like to bother staff or anybody on a Saturday or Sunday because it's their days off. Saturday maybe, Sunday it's out. Let's conduct this during business hours and stuff like that. So if you have a question, call me. I'll convey it to staff. We'll go from there. Because it creates a lot of confusion as who's doing what, and that's protocol. Any other questions or comment? Commissioners' reports or comments? Staff report? Kimberly, you want to tell us anything about the hay burners? No? Okay, we'll accept the motion to adjourn. So moved by Likens, second by Gardner. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.